But sounds like they're going to play 3 very good out-of-state teams. Top 25, I don't know about that, but we'll see. I'm excited to see that schedule released, and maybe Liberty can get a little more respect and recognition around the country because, to me, I think that's a very good high school football team.
It is. I believe they play DeSoto next year is what I heard. I don't know if that's true.
Wow. But I didn't hear that. That's interesting.
That's not a top 25 team, but I guess they are every year, so you probably see that in
there.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that almost probably play DeSoto next year, which will be, I don't know where it'll be played. In Texas or Nevada, probably Texas, to be honest. But that'll be fun.
I don't think they don't really travel out of the state as far as I've seen. But if that changes, that'll be neat.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. I know DeSoto gets a lot of home games. They have a really big stadium. Probably why. But yeah, I haven't seen Liberty travel out there. But either way, I mean, it's a good game, good experience for them. Yeah, they're a better team than a lot of people think, and so is Gorman. Like I said, number 1 team in the nation in my eyes and yours. Well, 2, I guess you have them at right now, but possibly number 1. As far as Bishop Gorman next year, are they going to be better next year with Biagio and Tyjon and Tate coming back?
Yeah, it's funny. I won't be. They return. I mean, they literally return almost everybody. On offense, they're going to lose 2 offensive linemen, both good offensive linemen, 3 stars, both headed to UNLV. They're going to lose Brandon Gahagan, although he's a very talented, good player. You know, they have plenty of guys that they can plug in to fill that void. On defense, they're going to lose 1 outside linebacker, and they have about 2 to 3 defensive linemen that they rotate in and out. But for the most part, it's really going to be about 8 returners on offense and about 9 returning starters on defense. So I would say on paper, absolutely, they should be better next year. To me, what remains to be seen is how that offensive line plays with their 2 3-star offensive linemen leaving. And as far as I know, they don't have any collegiate level star-rated offensive linemen returning next year. So that's a key area to keep an eye on, in my opinion. De La Salle, they returned just about everybody from their state championship team last season, but they graduated 3 offensive linemen. One of them, I believe, a 3 or 4-star, Drew Sullivan, and it definitely showed in their game at Euless Trinity in Texas to open the year that there just wasn't continuity. They just, weren't the same machine that they've been. And not to take anything away from Trinity, but to me it just looked different. I think now, based off of scores and what I'm seeing, that it's playing very well. But I think that's something to keep an eye on for Bishop Gorman. 2 offensive linemen doesn't sound like big hits because they're not skilled players, but if the offensive line plays well, then they really shouldn't skip a beat. And, Tate, Tyjon, and Biagio all in senior years should only be that much better. So we'll see. They return a whole bunch, but we'll see. In my opinion, the offensive line is what makes that offense go. So we shall see.
Yeah, we shall. I mean, that's the school that could possibly get a transfer from somewhere. A lot of kids have transferred to that school, so that's something to keep an eye on if they do have a whole offensive line position. But yeah, I mean, now as far as Gatorade Player of the Year, Biagio, Ali Walsh obviously won from the state of Nevada, which I think was well deserved. You agree with that one, or should it have been Tate?
No, it's close. It could probably go either way. I think Biagio breaking onto the scene has some really scary numbers. Tate, I think he had a quality season, but he seemed to regress a little bit from last year. So I think deservingly so, Biagio Walsh is your state player of the year in Nevada.
Where would you say he belongs in the National Player of the Year, National Gatorade Player of the Year? Does he have a chance to win it at all, or probably go to a senior, you think?
Yeah, I think in my preference, I think I would give it to a senior. But I also like in addition to the individual players' production, I like to factor in sort of like the Heisman, what that has meant to their team. If it is a national level team, before last week, my national player of the year would have been Quentin Davis for St. John Bosco. With his injury, his 2 interceptions, and the team's loss now out of the national championship picture, I tend to look elsewhere. Jacob Eason is a very worthy candidate, but they lost in their state semifinal. Even though he didn't win the Florida State Player of the Year, Shea Patterson to me is a name definitely worthy of the Player of the Year. He only played in 9 games, so certainly won't have the stats that some of these players have accumulated, but led his team to a 9-0 record over teams from New Jersey, Florida, Texas, and I think maybe another state or two, and all very national-level teams. So Shea Patterson's right there. It seems like Centennial just has too many mouths to feed for them to garner that one Player of the Year. But, Anthony Catalano, their quarterback, and J.J. Taylor, their running back, have had great seasons. Javon McKinley's had a great season, just not nearly as high on the stat chart as he was last year. So that's my answer. All those guys.
No, you're fine, man. There's 50 State Player of the Year, or Gatorade State Player of the Year, and there's guys that, like you mentioned, Javon McKinley or J.J. Taylor. That, in any other state, they'd probably be, winning that Player of the Year. It's tough. You mentioned Shea Patterson. Obviously, he didn't win Gatorade Player of the Year, but he's probably the best player in the state. Tyler Huntley is a good player with that one. I'm a big fan of Jake Fromm from Warner Robins, Georgia. Played for Houston County High School. He's not going to win State Player of the or National Player of the Year. I know he's not, but he's a guy that could win next year, and he's a guy that's kind of underrated for his class. He's a big boy, man. He's got a strong arm. He actually won the Little League World Series not too long ago. I believe he was 11 when they won Little League World Series. So he's a guy that's been on the national stage not that long ago, and played pretty good in this playoff. Losing 4 of his offensive linemen though, so that's going to hurt him. But he did a really good job this year. Colby Reeder from Delaware, I know he's from a really small state, but he did a really good job this year. I think that Daniel Blair's-Gad from Paradise Valley did a great job too. Could possibly win that award. Tommy Kramer, he's an offensive lineman. Brandon McElwain. Really impressed by him the whole year. From the beginning of his senior year in the summer till now, that kid's just gotten better and better. Don't know if he's going to stick at South Carolina with Will Muschamp now as a head coach, but I hope he does. Yeah. He could really start today. Their quarterback situation is bad, if you haven't noticed. South Carolina fans definitely noticed. But quarterback situation is horrible there, to be honest. It sucks they lost out on Mason Rudolph a few years ago from Rock Hill, Northwestern, because you could have used him. But, that's a kid that to look out for. Ben Bredesen, another lineman from Wisconsin. And Simi Fayoko, I believe is how you say his name, from Brighton, Utah. They are a factory, obviously, and Utah's produced some really solid players. One of my favorites was Porter Gustin last year, and Osa Mensah. They just keep it rolling with their top elite players. But, if I had to pick one player, though, I might have to go Jacob Eason, even though they didn't win a state title. But I want to ask you about California State Player of the Year, Sean Mazur. Do you think he deserves that award?
Certainly. I don't think there's any wrong pick with that. Seems like he's just as great of a kid as he is a football player. He, just like with Centennial's offense and really any great offense, there's going to be a lot of mouths to feed. So his stats weren't, eye-popping, but really respectable stats when what seemed Negro's great coaching job this year to get Quentin Davis ready for the whole season when they were playing their lighter opponents to start the year. No disrespect to La Mirada or Norwalk, but they were throwing the whole time. I got to see St. John Bosco versus Norwalk in the second week of the season, and McGrew didn't get a carry until like the fourth or fifth drive just because they're trying to work in their new quarterback, get him as many throws and develop chemistry with his receivers. So really being the second option, giving way to the passing game, he still had a very quality season. I think any running back would love to have his numbers. A couple other players that are definitely worthy in the state, but he absolutely is as well.
Agreed. Sean McGrew is definitely deserving of that award. California's loaded, of course, like it is every year. But, he's definitely been the best, most consistent player. Like you said, you mentioned early on, he didn't get carried until kind of late into the game, the first quarter. Caleb Kelly, he's on the other side of the ball. They don't get too much love on the side of the ball sometimes. But we all know he's one of the best players in the state from Clovis West High School, solid linebacker.
Yeah, I got to see him play a couple times.
Yeah, he's one of the best. Jack Jones from Long Beach Poly, obviously, is another guy. That's got a lot better. And we're speaking of that, we're going to go into the Rivals 150 list just a little bit. Probably some players from California. The top player, I'll probably ask you the top player, like Malik Henry, if he had a chance to play. Or even with the kid from Sarah High School. Do you know how to pronounce his name, Ryan? The defensive end?
Yeah, Khalil Tate or the defensive end?
The defensive end?
Oluwole Betiku.
There we go. I knew you would know it. He's one of the best players in the state. He had all types of games versus big left tackles that he won. Frank Martin, I noticed, especially. So, man. There's a lot of good players in this team. Michael Pittman is another one. And Theo Howard, who both moved up a lot in this Rivals 150. But, speaking of that, Rashawn Gary's number one. He was number one in the beginning of the season. He's still number one. We'll see if he's number one in the very final rankings. But, does he deserve to be the number one player, in your opinion, in the country?
Yeah, I got to see some of his summer camps, and he looked extremely dominant. Looks the part physically, freaky quickness and speed for a big man of that size. I hear he's a tremendous kid off the football field, very smart kid. So I'm a big fan of his. We'll look forward to following him in college. But, definitely I think he's certainly worthy of being number one. I know Bishop Gorman last season when they were working out their schedule for this season almost had a deal done with Paramus Catholic to come out here and play. So I was really excited to see him. Didn't work out, but I'm sure at the next level I'll get to see plenty of him.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because at the time of that show, we had Alan Walters Jr. and Tate Martell on at the same time.
No kidding.
Yeah, we did, and I'm sure you know Tate pretty well. He's a pretty feisty guy. He's like, we need to get it done. Talk to your coach about it. Not in a bad way. Just, that's just how he is. He's a very open guy. He's very confident, man, because he doesn't lose games. We need a nickname for Tate Martell. Well, he's got a nickname, Money Martell. Duh. Everyone knows that.
We could do better, though.
We could do better is what I'm trying to say. That name is just because of Johnny type of thing. He gets compared to all the time. But I think we can do better than that. But we'll stick with that one for now. But, in your opinion, on defense, I guess I should ask, who do you think is the best player in the state of California? Juarez is number one, of course, from Torrance. But do you believe he is number one player in the state of California on the defensive side?
He certainly could be. I haven't seen him play, and come to think of it, typically for guys that I can't catch in action, I'll try to watch their highlights and some game tape replays. I haven't seen any of his, but from everything that I hear, he certainly could be the best defensive player in the state. Oluwole Betiku, a guy that I have seen, he was very impressive, and a guy that I think translates to that next level very well. I think those could be your two top defenders. I'm trying to think under the radar guys.